Hare Krishna, dear devotees, Dandavat Pranam. So, as per the order of Sri Shamsundar Prabhu, so we'll continue the reading. So, we are reading from Trinadapi Sunichena. So, yesterday we left at point, even if my body is cut into pieces and I lost my life, I will never give up chanting the Lord's holy name. He did not give up chanting the holy name. He chanted and tolerated. Krishna gave him the power of tolerance. Krishna is so kind to his devotee that when testing him severely, he gives him the necessary strength to be tolerant, and he continues to remain a glorious devotee. When you do Hari Bhajana without duplicity, Bhajana will give you the strength of tolerance. Those who do not perform Bhajana are not tolerant at all. They cannot tolerate one word of criticism. What to speak of anything else? How can you tolerate being insulted when your enemies rebuke you? When your enemies call you bad names? You can tolerate by serving the lotus feet of Krishna. This material world is Dukhalyam, a miserable place, a miserable platform with so much suffering. At every step, there is a danger. In spite of all sufferings, miseries, insults, honor or dishonor, a humble devotee remain equipoised. समाशस्त्रौ सत्मित्रे च तथा मानापमानयो शीतोष्णसुखदुःखेषु समासङ्गा विवर्जितः तुल्यनिन्दास्तुतिर्मौनी सन्तुष्टो येन केनचित् अनिकेतास्थिरामतिर्भक्ति मां मे प्रियो नरः. One who's equal to friends and enemies, who's equipoised in honor and dishonor, heat and cold, happiness and distress, fame and infamy, who is always free from contaminating association, always silent and satisfied with anything, who does not care for any residence, who's fixed in knowledge, and who's engaged in devotional service, such a person is very dear to me. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that one who is equal in all conditions, favorable or unfavorable, in honor or dishonor, is not disturbed and is dear to the Lord. He is Tulya. He is equal with friends and enemies. If one of your enemies visits your house, what will you do? Oh, my adversary has come to my house. Now I have an opportunity to kill him. You may think like that, but a real gentleman, a devotee, a Vaishnava, never has such thoughts. Rather, he gives all respect to his enemy and treats him well, and in this way he changes the heart of his foe. Next, only one attachment. There is a story of how Sanatan Goswami bribed a guard so that he could escape from jail. Rupa Goswami had kept some gold coins for his elder brother and had hidden them. He wrote a letter to Sanatana Goswami, which was written in an indirect way. No one could understand what the letter said, but Sanatana Goswami could understand its allegorical meaning, so he acted accordingly. Somehow or other, Sanatana Goswami was imprisoned by Hussein Shah. He had given up all his opulence and high ministerial position. He gave up everything to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This was a test. Are you attracted to material position, name, fame, adoration, opulence, riches, enjoyment? Or do you really only have one attachment towards the lotus feet of Krishna? Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagat ishokame, mama janmani janmishware, bhavatad bhaktir ahetuki toy. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. That is Mahaprabhu's teaching. I have no desire for material wealth, no desire for material followers. Many followers may come and praise me and flatter me, but I don't want it. Rather, let everyone blame me or call me bad names. Who wants to be blamed and insulted? Everyone likes to be praised. Oh, Mr. X is a very nice devotee. Oh, Mr. X is a rascal. You cannot tolerate it. When someone rebukes you or calls you bad names, then you become so angry. When someone praises you, then, oh, very good, this person is my friend. Next, do you really want to serve Krishna? This is a question of how eager you are to serve the Supreme Lord. And you are able to tolerate being rebuked or being called bad names, accepting great suffering and miseries to serve Krishna. Haridas Thakur tolerated everything, and Sanatan Goswami tolerated so many troubles. He took leave from government post on the plea that he was sick. I have to serve the lotus feet of Krishna, the lotus feet of Mahaprabhu, he thought. I must go to Mahaprabhu and take shelter at his lotus feet. But the position I have as minister in Mohammedan government is a great hindrance. Vifale sevanu kripana durjana chapala sukha labha lagire. Why will I serve the kripanas, durjanas, rascals in the material world? Why are you serving such people? You are serving only for your bodily comfort and material enjoyment. Because he is giving you a high salary, you are serving him, the rascal. He is a miser, kripana, durjana. Many people are flattering him. Yes, you are very good, very nice. Your face looks good. Your buttock is good. Your behavior is good. Everything is good about you. No one is as good as you. You are a great hero. You are such a powerful person. Vifale sevenu kripana durjana chapala sukhalaba lagire. For fleeting pleasure, material means fleeting. We are serving such rascals and stupid persons, but we are actually the servants of Krishna. Krishna is the only eternal master, and each jiva is his eternal servant. Sometimes your manager at work rebukes you or places you in a difficult situation, but you simply tolerate it. All right, you say for the sake of keeping your job. Otherwise, you will be dismissed. Why don't you tolerate for the service of Krishna? He is the only master, the only object of love. He is Sevya Vastu, only Krishna to be served. Krishna will test you. Does this does this devotee really want to serve me with love and affection? I will put him in unfavorable situations and have him face all kinds of difficulties whereby he will be insulted and rebuked. I will take everything away from him. This will be the test. How much does he want to serve me? How strong is the attachment he has developed towards me? That was the test that Bali Maharaj underwent. So we'll stop here. And next, we'll read Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrita. So, Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, we are reading volume 5. So we were on volume 5 and page number 104, and we were at third paragraph. Giriraj, Srila Prabhupada said, "You will do, Giriraj." So I said, "Yes, Srila Prabhupada, whatever you say." I was not actually very happy about it, but I understood that one should be surrendered to the spiritual master, and whatever he said, one should do. So I accepted. Prabhupada said that good management means that whatever needs doing, you do it. That's all. Later I went into to see Srila Prabhupada, and he was sitting behind his desk. He said, "Now the full responsibility is on you." I winced when he said that because I was not used to taking responsibility. During Prabhupada's stay in Bombay, Hans Kilman, a young architect from Holland, had come to hear the lectures and had become interested in Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada convinced Hans to become a devotee and to help build the Hare Krishna city in Bombay. Under Prabhupada's direction, Hans at once began to make architectural drawings for the buildings. Hence, Prabhupada said, "Now you listen carefully. Lord Krishna has sent you here. You must design these temples for him. You must do these very sincerely and not be afraid." I was completely surrendered. That moment was really ecstasy for me. He had a pile of photographs on his desk and he gave them to me and said, "Look at this." I looked at the pictures and they were photographs of new Govindaji temple in Vrindavan. He said, "I want you to make a design like this." So I asked him, "How big, Srila Prabhupada?" He gave me a piece of typing paper and said, "I should draw on this paper." Then he gave me the photographs and a pencil and a ruler. He took me to the next room and told me to sit down at the table. Pradyumna was there with all his Sanskrit books. Shamsundra was there typing the letters, and suddenly I was in between, making the drawings. Prabhupada said Giriraj and others would have to collect 64 lakhs of rupees for the construction. The devotees had no idea how they would raise even a fraction of that amount. But Prabhupada gave them some ideas. He talked to them about enlisting the support of influential men by using Vint Nam system, Bherit Vint Nam system, whereby a person purchases the use of a guest room for life, and there were other ways. But the immediate step was to get the land. They had possession of the land, but before building they should have the deed. Since Mr. N was already overdue in delivering the deed, Prabhupada told Giriraj to press him to comply with the written agreement and deliver the deed at once. In Prabhupada's last lecture in Bombay, he spoke about the six Goswamis of Vrindavan and bittersweet ecstasy of their hankering to be with Krishna. Some of the Prabhupada's disciples took it that Prabhupada was speaking about this because he was himself going to be living for a long time. At the airport, next day, there was a joyful farewell as Prabhupada waited for his flight to Australia, sitting in the VIP lounge surrounded by devotees. Prabhupada watched Madhu Madhudvisa Swami led an ecstatic kirtan. If you go on having kirtanas like this, Prabhupada told the devotees, our Bombay project will be successful. When Prabhupada saw Mr. N had come, he exclaimed, oh, Mr. N, you are also here. You are becoming one of us. Next. Prabhupada had the extraordinary ability to bring a spiritual vision into physical reality, to change a part of this material world into spiritual energy so that even a common man would perceive the spiritual reality. This was Prabhupada's constant effort. Often a transcendentalist hesitates to deal with the material world, fearing he may become spiritually weakened. The Vedic injunctions, therefore, warn the transcendentalist to avoid associating with money and materialistic persons. But Prabhupada, following the principles taught by Srila Rupa Goswami, saw that everything material had the potential of being used in the service of Krishna and thus regaining its spiritual nature. Following this principle, an expert devotee, although apparently acting within the material sphere, could remain always in touch with the spiritual energy. For such a devotee, nothing was material. In the Vedic scripture, the great devotee Narad Muni, because of his ability to convert materialistic man into devotees, is referred to as Chintamani, touchstone. Just as Chintamani is said to convert iron into gold, so Narad Muni could transform a beast-like hunter into a pure Vaishnava. And as Narada is glorified in the Vedas for accomplishing such feats in bygone ages, so Srila Prabhupada is similarly potent touchstone in the present age. Again and again, he showed by his straightforward application of Krishna consciousness that he could change a materialist into a completely renounced, active devotee of the Lord. And now, after recruiting a number of devotees from Maya's camp, he wanted to engage them in transforming as much as possible of the material world into living spirit. By his transcendental visionary words, he was attempting to convert stone and human energy into glorious spiritual temples. While ambitious materialists sometimes criticize transcendentalists as unproductive, Prabhupada, because of his constant activity, could never be so accused. Rather, people would criticize him as being capitalist in the dress in the dress of a sannyasi. But such criticism never deterred Prabhupada. He was carrying out the desire of previous acharyas. He had written this conclusion in his Srimad Bhagavatam even before coming to America in 1965. Quote, therefore, all sages and devotees of the Lord have recommended that the subject matter of art, science, philosophy, physics, chemistry, psychology, and all other branches of knowledge should be wholly and solely applied in the service of the Lord. Prabhupada wanted to convert significant portions of the material world into spiritual world. In attempting to construct a spiritual city in Juhu, he realized he was launching a major attack against Maya. Within a few months, so many complications and headaches had already disturbed his plans, and more would come. The battle was just beginning. Sometimes Prabhupada's disciples found the work to be draining and stressful. They would become bewildered. They had come to spiritual life for bliss, not for anxiety. Prabhupada's presence and his constant encouragement helped them remain steadfast. He knew that once they tasted the nectar of selfless dedication to Krishna, they would never accept anything lesser. He would encourage them, reminding them of the words of spiritual predecessors like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who had said, difficulties undertaken in the course of your devotional service, I will consider the greatest happiness. Very nice sentence. Difficulties undertaken in the course of your devotional service, I will consider the greatest happiness. So, this finishes the chapter 3. Now we are at chapter 4. So, chapter 4 title is Around the World but Absorbed in Bombay. Prabhupada traveled with three disciples, Shyamasundara as his secretary, Pradyumna as his servant and Sanskrit editor, and Nandakumara as his cook. The first stop was Singapore, where, without explanation, immigration authorities refused Prabhupada entry into the country. Sympathetic Indians in Singapore had arranged for Prabhupada to lecture and had even mailed hundreds of invitations, but Srila Prabhupada, disappointed and feeling ill, had to continue 12-hour flight to Sydney. April 1st, 1972. Prabhupada planned to stay a few days in Sydney before going on to Melbourne. Although Krishna consciousness movement was young in Australia, Prabhupada saw positive signs devotee to initiate TV and radio appearances, and an interested crowd at his morning lectures in the temple. This was only his second visit to Australia. On his first visit, almost a year ago, he had installed the deities Radha Gopinath and had prayed to them. Now I am leaving you in the hands of militias. I cannot take the responsibility. You please guide these boys and girls and give them the intelligence to worship you very nicely. Now, on returning and seeing the deities beautifully dressed and well cared of, he felt happy. After 5 busy days of preaching, he flew on to Melbourne, Upananda. In Melbourne, Prabhupada spoke at town hall, and all the Melbourne hippies came. There was a man there called the Wizard. He used to be a professor at university, but he resigned his post so he could carry out his shenanigans. He was very intellectual. He was dressed in a black cape and leotard, and he got up as soon as Srila Prabhupada asked for questions. He had a group of his own followers. First, he spoke very respectfully. But I have one thing. First, he spoke very respectfully. Excuse me, Your Divine Grace. I have been listening to your lecture, but I have one thing I would like to say in this regard. I believe that I am God. I am the center of the universe. And I will prove sometime next year that I am the center of the universe. Prabhupada said, that's all right. Everybody is thinking like that. What makes you different? Actually, the wizard's whole game was that he wanted to be different. His dress, everything. So Prabhupada exposed this, exposed him as just another materialistic fool. Everybody started laughing and clapping. Auckland, April 14, 1972. The devotees had just opened a temple in New Zealand a few weeks before Prabhupada's arrival. Prabhupada stayed a couple of days and installed Radha Krishna deities. Bhurijana. Prabhupada installed large marble deities, but there was only one girl to take care of them. Prabhupada was insisting that the deities should be installed anyway and that they should be taken care of properly. He demanded that they should have many sets of clothes immediately. So some devotees built a temporary wooden altar and put a curtain of for the devotees, for the deities. The curtain fell down. Everything was going wrong. It was confusing and everyone was upset. So Srila Prabhupada just took over. He said, put this here, put that back up there, do this, do that. He completely took command of the whole situation. The devotees put the curtain back and Prabhupada said, get rid of this Vyasas, Vyasasana. And they took the Vyasasana out because it was so big and room was so small that there was no room for the people. Prabhupada just put a mat on the floor and sat down on that. What a humbleness of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada visited for one night in Hong Kong, where he lectured at a program arranged by Bhurijana and his wife Jagat Tarani. Bhurijana. We had taught the Indian children to sing the prayers to spiritual master. So we had them sing for Prabhupada. He looked at me and he was really pleased. Then he said, your wife said there are no interested people, but you have so many students here. I said, you have so many students, Prabhupada. At the end of lecture, Prabhupada asked if there were any questions, and a little Indian boy raised his hand and asked, who started the forest fire? The boy was thinking of a forest fire mentioned in the Krishna book in Krishna's pastime, but all he said was, who started the forest fire? But Prabhupada took the question in different way, that this material world is like a blazing forest fire, just like the prayers to spiritual master had described. So Prabhupada said, no one started the forest fire. It starts automatically. Just like in forest, by rubbing of two bamboos, a fire may start. But by chanting Hare Krishna, we can get out of this forest fire of material life. In Japan, the devotees lived in an old farmhouse in the hill country outside Tokyo. Srila Prabhupada stayed in a nearby hotel, installed Radha Krishna deities in the temple, and awarded sannyasa to ISKCON Tokyo's leader Sudama. Prabhupada said he knew the pulse of his devotees. Thus, he had recently sensed a tendency in his leading managers to be too absorbed in management and not enough in preaching. He had been telling his secretary that GBC men should not simply sit behind their desk and try to centralize power, but should become detached, take sannyas, and travel and preach. With this in mind, he had awarded the sannyas order to two of his GBC secretaries, Tamal Krishna and Sudama. Now he advised that they not give up their managerial burden but follow his example of preaching and managing their GBC zones in an renounced spirit. Shamsundara. Prabhupada's hotel room had rice paper walls and was very cold. It was like coming back into northern climate but without central heating. One day I came to Prabhupada's room for Mangala Arati and I had a blanket wrapped around me. I said, are you cold, Prabhupada? I could see he did not like the cold, but he was not going to let that stop him from serving Krishna. Nandakumara. At the Sunday feast, there were about 30 Japanese people, mostly young, and even Single one brought Prabhupada a flower, put it at his feet, and paid full danvats. They were so respectful. Prabhupada said that it was a good sign that these boys and girls are able to honor a saintly person, Bhurijana. We had arranged a program in Kobe. Many Indians and Sindhis lived there. It was a long journey out of Tokyo. They put Prabhupada on third floor of the house and there was no elevator. Prabhupada just put his chin out and walked right up, even though it was a tremendous effort for him. The engagement was arranged in such a poor way that on the same speaking program with Prabhupada was a Mayavadi sannyasi. Prabhupada wanted to speak first, so he spoke in English. There were quite a few Indians there, about 100. Prabhupada explained very clearly and strongly that Krishna is God. Then other sannyasi began speaking in Hindi. Prabhupada was just sitting there with his eyes closed, chanting japa. Suddenly he looked at us and said, "Start Kirtana immediately." So we got up in the middle of the sannyasi speaking and started Kirtana. Prabhupada left quickly after the Kirtana. When we got back to the room with Prabhupada, he explained what had happened. He said first he was preaching nicely and then he started explaining Panchopasana, about five different features of the Absolute. And then when he said that Supreme is ultimately impersonal, I could not tolerate it. Prabhupada said, I am like a lion where I am out and a lamb when I am home. Prabhupada said, I am like a lion when I am out and a lamb when I am at home. Prabhupada had business in Tokyo with his printer, Dai Nippon. He was greatly pleased with the faith Dai Nippon Printing Company placed in him, giving him hundreds of thousands of dollars credit just on his word. One of the Dai Nippon executives even approached him submissively, inquiring about whether his son, who had died a year and a half ago, had gone to Buddha. A young Japanese executive who translated the older man's questions and Prabhupada's answers explained to Prabhupada. Since then, he has been very religious. He was the eldest son. He was the eldest son, Prabhupada asked. 20 years, youngest son. The two executives spoke briefly. He's asking how he can be relieved from such sadness when his son had died. Oh, yes, Prabhupada said. The point is that the success of everything depends on how Krishna is satisfied. That I have explained. He related the example of Sandipani Muni, the spiritual master of Krishna and Balaram. Sandipani Muni's son had died, and he requested his two students, my dear boys, I lost my child very young. If you kindly bring him, then I will be very much pleased. So Krishna went to the planet of Yamaraj and brought his son back. So you try to satisfy Krishna, and you will be blessed. Your son will be blessed. You pray to Krishna wherever your son may be, he will be happy. You believe in reincarnation next birth? The young man spoke to elder executives in Japanese. The older man nodded. Prabhupada continued. Yes, so your son, he must have taken a body somewhere. So if you pray to Krishna, your son will be happy. He will benefit. So Prabhupada's GBC secretary for the Western United States, Karandhara, arrived in Tokyo to assist in dealing with the Dai Nippon Printing Company. Prabhupada talked with him about his new project in Bombay. He also wrote two letters to Giriraj, urging him to begin constructing the Bombay buildings as soon as possible. He wanted Giriraj to model the temple after Jaipur's famous Govindaji temple and erect beside it a modern high-rise hotel. And then you shall have the perfect Juhu plan. Rupert said Hans now Surabhi should finish the drawings and get the city council's approval by June so that they could begin the foundation before the monsoon. I do not think that it is possible, Rupert wrote, but if you can try for it, that will be nice. So, in the interest of time, the next paragraph we will start tomorrow. Shamsundar Prabhu has given such a nice service. Often we don't get time to read, but just by doing service, able to read Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. So recently I heard a lecture where the Maharaj is saying that everyone should read Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita because we should know who Srila Prabhupada was and what he did, how this movement came into existence. He said that when we read Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, then we understand the founder of ISKCON. And once we understand the founder of ISKCON, then we know what is the purpose of ISKCON, and then we would be able to contribute to that movement. So please forgive me if I not read properly or made any mistake. So now we'll wrap up and then we'll continue our chanting till 6:54. वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। शिला प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णविंद की जय।